Welcome to Boomers on Travel. Yes, you can enjoy travel to foreign and exotic destinations, even if you're a boomer on a tight budget. Here are your hosts, Irene and Mike. Now, let's talk travel.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. And here we are in Dublin. And we're at Geraldine's. Geraldine has been our host for the last week, and it's just been so lovely. We've had the most delightful time in Dublin, and part of it is due to Geraldine. She's made it special for us. But anyways, Geraldine has been sharing some Irish stories with us, and they've really given us a chuckle. And she's going to share them with you this morning. So Geraldine, would you mind telling me about when the babies used to be born about in the 80s? You said there was Guinness is here, and it's a very prominent company here in Dublin, and they participated with the babies?
Hi, Guinness is an integral part of Dublin and Ireland, Guinness the drink. But when I was having my kids in the 1980s, I have 3 children then, the Guinness was, pregnant women were told to have a glass of Guinness every day of the pregnancy. It was good for the baby. Guinness has a lot of nutrition and iron in it. And until around 15 years ago, if you were a blood donor in Ireland, you got a free pint of Guinness afterwards. Now, with political correctness, they can only give you a free Coke. But another thing about the babies was in the maternity hospitals, after the baby was born, the nurses had, in the closet in the hospital, they had bottled Guinness to give to the new mothers. Oh. So as we say, at that time, a breastfed baby in Dublin in the 80s, the 1980s, was getting Guinness on tap.
I absolutely love that story, Geraldine.
Geraldine, when the tourists come in, now Dublin, I understand, you told me it was like 1.5 million people. What are the top things they're looking to do?
Well, mainly we do the same route if they're a tour company, and they always want to go to Trinity College, a college that was founded in 1592 by Queen Elizabeth I of England to educate the Anglos for the Protestant clergymen. It's also the home of the Book of Kells, and the Trinity Long Room Library is also associated with the Harry Potter movies, because the library in the Harry Potter movie is based on that library in Trinity College. Lovely, lovely library. And they also then go to St. Patrick's Cathedral, generally in Dublin. St. Patrick's was built in the 13th century as a Catholic church, of course. Catholicism was the only religion at that time. But after King Henry's Reformation, in the 1500s, it went from Catholic to Protestant, and it has remained so to this day. Visitors are amazed when they hear that St. Patrick's Cathedral in Dublin is not a Catholic church. They're always looking for the holy water and the rosary beads, and there ain't any. It's a Protestant church, lovely, lovely church. And we also visit the Docklands area. This is where a lot of the US high-tech companies have located. They come to Ireland for the very cheap corporation tax. They pay less than about 12% corporation tax. So Google and Twitter and Yahoo, or all those companies, have their European headquarters here in Dublin, and they employ thousands of people.
Well, that's pretty interesting. And then some of the literature kind of cracked me up because I wasn't sure, and they talked about the pub crawl. Now, tell us a little bit about the pub crawl. That's basically for a lot of young people come in from like London and different areas in Europe to do these pub crawls. Is that a really big thing?
It is, yeah. Dublin has 700 pubs, and it's a real party town, especially at the weekends. Young people come here from European cities, European countries like Holland and France, Germany and England. A lot of come from the UK, and they'd spend the weekend here, and it's a pub crawl. Yeah, like I said, we go around. They go around some of the 700 pubs. Alcohol is very expensive in Ireland, though, but I'm not sure why they bother all the way. But and then they drink on the street, and you can have music on the street, and it's a very convivial atmosphere. The pubs in Ireland are they were invented, if you like, because of the bad weather. You know, the Irish pubs are sort of a very special, they're a unique feature. It's not a bar where you go in and have a drink and leave. It's a place where you go and sit and meet friends. It's like a house. That's why it's a public. That's the word pub comes from public house. There was always a house in the village that was public. That people, a normal house like yours and mine, people will go to the house and they would sit there. Sometimes they'd bring their own alcohol, and that's where the word pub originated. A public house in any village in Ireland. So you go and you sit. And you might only buy one drink all night, but you sit and you meet your friends. It's because the weather is sometimes bad in the wintertime.
Now, right now, you're telling me summer's here, but I come from Florida, so I mean, it's a little chilly. And Now, like what, 21, 22 Celsius would be like a pretty decent day. And like to say 10 minutes, the sun's out. No, the sun's out right now as we're talking. But I walked in the house 10 minutes ago, it was raining.
Yeah, we sometimes get 2 or 3 seasons in the one afternoon. It was very cold this morning, very windy. And now the sun is out this afternoon. Big black clouds scudding across the sky at the moment. You wouldn't know whether it could be, as we say in Ireland, it could be raining in one field and not in another. So it's impossible even to forecast it because the island is so small. It's very difficult to forecast if it's going to rain in the east or in the west. More often than not, it rains in the west of Ireland because that's where the Atlantic clouds are coming in, the Atlantic influences. On the west coast of Ireland, it's always raining in the west.
Geraldine, you have given us some very valuable information. You're just delightful. We're here with Geraldine. I don't know if most of you know this or not, our listeners, but we do home exchange. It used to be called guest to guest, and Geraldine opened her house up to us. And so Mike and Truman, Mike's service dog, and I have been here for a week. And we just feel like we're family now. We hate to really leave tomorrow, but this is our last day in Ireland, and it's just been a wonderful experience, and we really do hope that we're going to get together, Geraldine, soon. Now back to Mike.
Yeah, another thing is when we came in, like a lot of different cities, I was kind of surprised because there's so much different types of architecture here. And also, it's an absence of really of skyscrapers, except I see they're building some new high-rise buildings, but it's 4 or 5 stories, 6 stories, that's pretty much it. But spread up, it's a great walking city.
But yeah, Dublin's a very good walking city. The diversity in architecture is because, we were a colony of Great Britain for 800 years. So the very English architecture here. We have Georgian buildings, we have Regency and Victorian buildings, very, very English. You don't see this architecture in the rest of Ireland. It's only in Dublin. Dublin was the headquarters of British rule for the 800 years, and that's why we have such a diversity. The skyscraper, we don't do skyscrapers at all. They're building at the moment. They're building constructing a building down on the Docklands area for those US high-tech companies, and it's going to be something like 25 stories, and that's the biggest one ever. And there was a big controversy at the time when they were building it. So we don't have a high-rise construction policy at all. Everything is low-rise, and a big diversity in architecture.
Another thing that's kind of interesting, I grew up in northern New York, and Irene grew up also up in northern New York. And we have a lot of big Irish communities. Syracuse, New York, we have Tipperary Hill, and there's a lot going on. There's a lot of Irish. But then talking to you, I could not believe when you told me what the population of Irish is. And I think our audiences probably have no idea that the population of Ireland.
Yeah, the population of Dublin is 1.5 million, and the population of the entire Republic is less than 5 million. Now it's rising. We're one of the few European countries that has a rising population, but that's due to inward immigration. The population pre-famine, you possibly know about the Irish famine, the potato famine that happened in the 1840s. Before that, we had about 8 million in Ireland, and within 2 generations, it had dropped to 3 million. And that was because not from hunger, some from hunger and disease, but mostly that was the start of the Irish people leaving Ireland, the diaspora, going abroad, going to America, Canada, and Australia to live. And since then, about 150 years ago, 6 million Irish people have left these shores to go and live abroad. That's an amazing statistic, 6 million Irish people. And at the moment we have about 5 million, but it is rising slightly due to inward immigration.
Now, I guess pretty much I see Ireland pretty much embraces immigration. Another thing what we did is we did the hop on and hop off tour. And I know there's 2 or 3 companies, but that's a really good way to see the city, especially, it's the way it's laid out, but with the hop on, hop off, we were very, very pleased with the itinerary that they had. Now, you're also a tour guide, and you were telling me you have 2 or 3 ships sometimes a day that comes.
Dublin is a big cruise city. We're right on the coast, the east coast. We're about 70 miles from the North Welsh coast in the UK. The Irish Sea separates us, and we have a lot of tours. There was 3 cruise ships in today. It's a big cruise ship venue. They're generally doing what they call the British Isles. We don't like that expression. We're not the British Isles. We're Ireland and England. But they would do maybe London and then go the Scottish Islands and then come over to Ireland, stop in Dublin, and they possibly go up to Belfast in the north of Ireland, which is also part of the UK. But it's a big cruise ship area, yeah.
I think another thing I like about Dublin, and you can probably speak to this, because Ireland's not an overly large country, so you could do a few days in in Dublin and do some of the day trips that go out to. Could you tell us a little bit about some of the day trips that go out?
From Dublin, you can go, for a short day trip would be maybe go down to New Grange, which is a Neolithic grave site, several thousand years. It actually predates the pyramids in Egypt. It's a grave site built by the ancients. That's New Grange. You can go south of Dublin up to the mountains, what we call the mountains. They're really only hills if you're used to the Rockies, but they're the Wicklow Mountains. You can visit a monastic site there called Glendalough. Or for a couple of hours, maybe 2 hours out to the west, you get to Galway and the west of Ireland. So it's the next stop, the Statue of Liberty, when you get over there. We're on the extreme west coast of Ireland. Galway is a great city for music. It's really an overgrown fishing village, and Galway is a lovely, lovely city.
Well, this has been great, and we really appreciate all the information you give us. And we took a ride out of the city today, about an hour and a half. Where'd we go, Irene? Athlone? Athlone. And that was really nice. And the valleys and everything was so green and so beautiful. And I think, this is the first time we've done a lot of traveling. This is the first time we've ever been to Ireland. It was fantastic. We're definitely going to come back again, right, Irene?
Oh, no doubt. We definitely did miss quite a bit, even though we saw quite a bit. We're looking forward to our next trip back, and perhaps we'll get together at Geraldine. I hope so. And we hope that our listeners will have really enjoyed this podcast. Geraldine was a great guest to have on.
Yes, Geraldine, we want to thank you. And we're getting ready to go back to the States. We've been on the road for a month now, and we really appreciate you giving us a few more nights here so we can spend here in Ireland. I'm just so glad that we stayed in the Dublin area. It's been beautiful. And hopefully we'll see you again. We're not going to say Arrivederci. We've been saying that. How do you say in Gaelic? Yeah, how about in Gaelic? How do you? Can you say one thing about Gaelic? I thought that was really interesting about how you had to learn the two languages.
Okay, Gaelic. You call it Gaelic, and we call it Irish. And Irish is a compulsory subject in all the schools. Every school child from the age of 5 up until 18 will spend about 2 hours a day learning to read and speak Irish. And then, like I said, it's a bit like algebra. When you leave school, it goes out of your head. But we learn everything. Irish is a recognised language of the EU. And it's also a very active language in Ireland. Everything that comes from the government, a parking fine, a letter from the taxman, that's always written in Irish. It's written in both languages, Irish and English. If our passports, our driver's licenses, anything official has to be written in Irish. It's part of the regulations. All the road signs are in 2 languages. And to say goodbye, it's a completely different language from English, by the way. To say goodbye, I will say Slán agus beannacht. And that means goodbye and bless you. Slán agus beannacht.
Boomers on Travel thanks you for being a part of our growing travel family. Join us next week for Travel Talk, focused on value and exciting travel destinations.